Hello, hello. Welcome for another episode of the Author Spotlight. Hey, it's your host with the most, your main man, Darren and Palmer. So excited to be with you for a fantastic episode where I get the honor and the privilege to be able to go behind the scenes with best-selling authors from across the globe. Today, I have on the gentleman, the legend, the man, the myth, all the above, my man, Mr. Rahshib Thomas, who is a speaker, author, and coach. Rahshib is the leadership minister of RT Consulting, where he supports his clients in the areas of motivational speaking, career coaching, strategy, and branding. Rahshib's expertise derives from years of contribution as a human resources executive to high volume real estate and hospitality companies specializing in labor relations, employee relations, performance management, and organizational development. So I just want to welcome on Rahshib Thomas to the show. Thank you so much, man, for taking time out your busy schedule to take this interview today.
Darren, I'm so excited to be on the Author Spotlight, and thank you so much. I get to talk about that life, leadership lessons for the urban professional, but I'm grateful. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, Mr. Rahshib Thomas, I was able to connect with him for an event in New York City or whatnot, for as the Authors Roundtable. So I gleaned so much. I told my wife who was with me, I said, man, we have to get this gentleman's card. You know, for one thing, he's a fantastic person. You'll hear more about that anyway, and plus about this amazing book that he has as well. So if you don't mind, Rahshib, I want to just, people see they see the highlights of your life, they see all the accolades of what I just read or whatnot, if they look up any information of you online. But I want to go back a little bit and share with them, when we talk about that life, why this as your first book with your diverse background.
Absolutely, Darren. Great question. Why this is my first book. And as I was preparing for the roundtable, and it periodically as I pick up the book and read it and just reconnect, the intention was to tell my story. And the intention was to get some things out, and as for lack of a better word or term, get some things off my chest. So I wanted to tell people my story and my journey of how I've maintained, how I've survived in corporate America, how I've survived in my community. And I wanted to tell some personal stories that I don't think I had ever told anyone, or maybe I wanted to set the record straight. And then I wanted to also put some of what I learned, not just in the professional realm, but as a human resources professional for 18 years now, to lace that in there to talk about how my personal journey also applied to the workplace and to the community.
I love it. I love it. For those who are listening out there, think about ways that how you can incorporate your daily activities or areas of expertise. So don't think that it was a waste of time because you're not in a particular field that you used to be in. All those things are contributing to your overall value that you can add to people because of your background that you have. So don't despise the day of small beginnings, so to speak. So when I think about that, Mr. Thomas, I'm looking at it as well because I know some of the people who are listening, they're thinking to themselves, I've had an idea of doing a book. I've desired to do a book. I don't know, especially we have an audience of a lot of professionals on here. So I know that they are pondering and thinking to themselves, how in the world with his schedule, because I've heard some of the titles that he's held and the things that he does. So how in the world is he creating content? But before we even get to the creating content, share with them the psyche and the mindset that allow for you to be able to go ahead and do the book instead of just talk about doing the book with your busy schedule. What made you believe that you could even write a book with your schedule to be in the way that it is?
Well, Darren, that's a great question, and I'm gonna go somewhere and come right back, but I'm gonna put it in a Rahshib kind of way. There was a point a few years ago, so the book is 3 years old now. It was published in October 2016, and then I began writing and working on it in the latter part of 2015. But what I know now that I probably didn't describe back then, but I was actually living in hell. And what I mean by that is my gifts and talents and ideas were separate from what I was actually doing. So when I had the idea of writing a book and had an idea, but I wasn't acting on it. And so I would walk around with this nice idea and have these maybe sharing with friends and family that, one day I'm going to write a book, but then also feeling sad about it because I wasn't doing it. And I had to get some personal coaching to get me in action and really to close the gap from who I said I was or am, or what I said I wanted to do to what I was actually doing. So that was I wanted to get out of hell and actually live and walk in alignment. And as I began to walk in alignment, it was a muscle that I was building that I hadn't built before. So anytime we start a new workout, it's going to hurt, right? So it was really setting times in the beginning to sit down and write the book, or sit down and write anything that was coming out of my head at the time. That was the hardest thing to do, was to get my ideas and thoughts out of my head and put them on paper so then someone else could understand them. I went back and forth between an outline and then just writing, freestyle writing. So for me, both of those things worked. What I began to do that actually allowed me to build more content or create more content was utilize the resources that we all utilize. I always like to joke saying, everybody has a $500 smartphone in their pocket right now. So if you can't connect there's a notepad on there that you can write notes down. And that's what I began to do. I'm fortunate that I don't drive in New York. I commute each day on the subway or throughout the city. So I can take time to write and listen to music. Or if I went on lunch somewhere or, sat in the atrium and had some coffee, 20 minutes really makes a difference. I tell people often, what can you do in 10 minutes? When I would sit down for 10 minutes and dedicate to writing, it always turned into 20 to 30 minutes, which allowed me to have content.
I want to go, thank you so much, Mr. Thomas, for sharing that information. Those are the nuggets that you need to really glean from this particular interview when we go behind the scenes. Now, notice, he didn't say that he went to Cuba, probably desired to go there, but, he didn't do the Hemingway where he was just looking out of a window and just was writing or whatnot, just a masterpiece. He took advantage of the time that was allotted to him to actually get it in, to squeeze it in. So some of you out there who are listening to this particular podcast are wondering, how can you do it? Just think about it. I like to say it's that mind hack. If you could just get focused on something that's doable, not, I got to do 5,000 words today. I'm going to knock out 10 chapters today. No, 20 minutes. If I could just put myself in a mind frame of between this commute or I got this spare time, or when I get through working out, or you know what, I'm going to have opportunity to do this. When I get through with my lunch break, I have some time at my desk or cubicle that I can work on this. I can get this done during that time. And I love what Rahshib shared as well, the importance of knowing when you get started, you'll be shocked that you'll get, I call it the bonus round. That bonus round that you start having, because that 20, you start having additional 10 because you look up and say, oh, wow, let me go ahead and finish this thought off. It's just about get going and building up that momentum. And then you'll be shocked how far along that you will be and how you can expedite the process. And, and speaking of that, Rahshib, when we talk about expediting the process and you would think about the mental fortitude, you gave us some hacks as far as how you was creating that content. And I also love the way that you shared about, bridging the gap from who you were to who you desired to be, who you really were and whatnot. And so you could have integrity with yourself, because it also impacts and it affects you in other ways as well, because you're not staying disciplined or you're not staying true to who you are. So with that being said, share with the audience what has been the difference in your life since you became the true Rahshib, whatnot, by doing what you said that you was going to do. Could you share how it's been some benefits by you having this be a therapeutic process, by you keeping your promise to yourself, by becoming an author?
Absolutely. And let me see if I can land it in some eloquent words.
Yeah.
But what I stopped being a rookie and I became an expert. So I actually had the product. So I wasn't just talking about it. And it wasn't a nice idea anymore. I was actually doing it. And I knew that I stepped into the big leagues, because then I began to receive feedback, whether people liked it or didn't like the book. They gave me feedback. And when I tell you, that was a different experience as well, because here's the thing. I have a product. I publish something. It's out there. it's like being an artist, or Erykah Badu said, you know, I'm sensitive about my ish. I wasn't necessarily sensitive, but I was engaging in conversations of just big boy stuff, major league stuff. I wasn't a rookie. I wasn't just some potential. I had actually created something on the planet. It was out there, and then people were engaging with me as the expert around either publishing a book, either talking about that life, or just what it means to be a human resources professional, what it means to be a professional of color, living in your communities, gentrification, all of those things that I talk about in my book. People were actually engaging with me, and whether they liked it or didn't, if they picked it apart, if they came for my neck, as we say in New York, I was so grateful for the experience, because that was on the other side of me wishing and wanting. I was actually a published author, and now I get to have the conversations that published authors have, and be an authority, and have the opportunity to create more when I will.
I love this. So many people think what Rahshib is talking about. I know you've heard me say it, but just think about what Rahshib just shared for those who are tuned in. It's important. It's a game changer by you having a book. And I'm going to tell you, it's also, and I'm not talking about Denzel right now, but it's an equalizer as well. And, you know, you might say, Darren, what are you talking about equalizer? We're going into motion pictures or whatnot. No, you can get traction in the area or in your career or opportunities just because you are an author. That it might be several people in the room, and I'm not knocking this because I got a bachelor's and all that as well, but you can have people in the room who might have a bachelor's or a master's or even a doctorate, but you can be the focal point and own the room or own the conversation for promotion, or get the opportunity to do the keynote or the workshop because you are the expert by having your book. Now, you might not know anything, but it's still perceived by industry. You know, I'm a Southern guy, so we got to think, you know, you just play the game how it goes. So many times you don't have to be so intelligent that you're no good or whatnot. It's a way how things go. It might be a way that you hope it goes, but it's a way that things go. And I've seen individuals do a quantum leap over somebody who, and I'm not knocking that, so y'all don't send me hate mail saying Darren's talking about education. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you can't get certifications. I'm just saying, but it's a difference between if you got a certification or you got a degree, but somebody else has a book. For you know it, that person is going to end up doing more if you're not careful because of the topic. They don't have to wonder, just like Rahshib talked about. It's not, I'm going to, or as we say down south in Texas, I'm fixing to, or I'm finna go do something. No, it's not that. He actually had the tangible product, the resources right there. Now he's having big boy talk or a big girl talk or whatnot, whatever you want to call it. And so it's a separator in industry. I've seen so many people, Rahshib, get promotions. I've seen individuals where one university, for one young lady, they actually created a position for her because of the content that she had in the book. She wanted to get out of one position as a coach and didn't want to be on the road recruiting all the time. Asked to do apply for one position, didn't get it. So she's thinking like, well, I tried, ain't no big deal about it. They came back and actually came up with said, we're going to use this book, the curriculum from this book, and created a place for her of a job that didn't even exist. And she's been able to even move on and be promoted even more since then. And so Rahshib is telling you all great information. He's dropping value bombs on you. And I want you to share too, Rahshib, of some of the opportunities, if you don't mind, far as doors opening for his business and things like that as well, for his opportunities that the book has allotted you since you've gotten it done.
Well, one thing that I've learned is that this has become a very, very important business card. So what I'm able to do with that, it's my business card, calling card. So I have my own consulting firm where I do coaching and consulting for individuals and small groups. So people invite me to panels to speak as an expert. And even those moments where I thought, geez, there's a lot more smart people than me. but yet I'm the published author, like you said. So people invite me. People, I've gotten business through it. People say, hey, we want to buy your book for my staff, and we want you to come talk to us about it. I've been in a holiday party, didn't even know the person. A woman walked up to me and said, oh my God, my boss bought your book for our office. And so those things have been able to transpire. And again, not just create the connection and allow me to have my opinion or have my belief around work or whatever I put in the book be an authority on it. But it also opened up financial doors to where people say, hey, we want to book you, or or what's your fee, or what do you need? Let's make this happen. And, I just say, hey, well, I give them what I need, but I also say I do need plain seltzer water at the podium when I speak. That's it. Other than that, we'll figure it out. But yeah, a very important business card. It's open doors. And as an HR professional, not just the labor relations, which the union piece is very huge. And a lot of us in our career, when we're able to manage the union piece, it gives us street cred. This book has changed the game to where people saying, well, wow, because oftentimes we study books, right? And I said, well, let's talk about my book, or let's talk about some topics in there. I was just at an office the other day, and I told someone, I said a quote, and I can't think of the quote all of a sudden, but I said a quote, and I said, I put that in my book. And he laughed, and I said, yeah. And geez, I can't think of it for the life of me. Forgive me. But yeah, it opens up conversations, or people come to me and they quote the book back. And again, the business piece has been there, and that's what I'm grateful for.
Hey, you know what, though, Rahshib, when I think about it as well, I like to call it the human capital. And I think that's what you have alluded to in so many ways in this interview tonight or whatnot, is the importance. And I don't want you all to miss this, the importance of the human capital. You've heard the old school saying, your network is your net worth. By just being invited into the right, it's about positioning. So just being invited to a round table, being invited to the happy hour, being invited to be able to speak at that office, who knows, just like your reputation precedes itself by you being an expert, by someone knowing who you are soon as you come into the room. If you're unaware of this person, you don't even know this person, but your book, you being looked at as a thought leader, somebody who's an authority in that particular industry, preceded you before you even get there. So when they get to, oh my gosh, this is the guy that my boss bought the book. Just think about the magnitude of what that meant to those in that circle, how they're viewing Rahshib just because of this person that they know, like, and trust. And now all of a sudden they look there, it's infectious. It's going to spread throughout the room for its opportunities. And not just monetarily, which is nothing wrong with that as well, but just think about how people, because of the discussion or the dialogue that's created, that now they're able to get a different perspective or to get validation on, I was wondering that. I didn't know if I was the only one, but now I can make an impact in my community if it's dealing with gentrification. I can know for that HR professional or whatnot, I can say, okay, well, you know what? I need to look at what I'm doing differently or whatnot, because personal or professional development is important no matter what industry that you're in. And Rahshib, if you don't mind, share with our audience today, because I want to be respectful of your time, but share with them, how can they purchase the book and how can they connect to even book you? So if you got any website information or social media handles, please share that at this time.
Absolutely. Darren, I'm so grateful for what you do in the world and how you are allowing yourself as a business to be a vessel for people getting their stories out and getting and birthing their visions and just birthing their opportunities to live the life that they've always dreamed about, changing family trajectories, changing careers, changing just relationships, right? So thank you for doing what you do. And everyone run to Darren who can get, when you have that idea in your mind, and if this was the turning point, tip it, turn it, get it done. Don't go into 2020.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, man.
don't go into 2020 saying the same old things, doing what you've always done. You got to be different to have different, and Darren Palmer is the difference.
Wow, thank you so much.
For me, you're welcome so much. For me, About That Life book is on most platforms you can think of. So Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, online. You can buy it in a soft version or an ebook as well. You can also find out more about me at RahshibThomas.com. I'm also on Instagram. I do answer DMs. I was DMing the other day. One of my idols met my mentor last night, and I DM'd them to talk back. So I'm meeting with him for lunch, and I meet with people for lunch. But I really want to talk to you about what's important to you, and how do you, not just a book. The book isn't my specialty, but just talk as far as supporting people creating books. But I do support people with creating 90-day action plans that they can execute some goals and have some things happen. I support people with up-leveling their career. So we're going to take a lot of those LinkedIn pieces, resume pieces, look at that next job description that you want. We're going to hack it, and we're going to get you some salary increases. I have people getting $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 increases with my coaching. So RahshibThomas.com. You can find me at Rahshib on Instagram. That's R-A-H, S as in Sierra, H as in Hotel, I as in India, and B as in Bravo. And I look forward to connecting.
Awesome, awesome. I tell you, Rahshib is awesome. This was just a little ski taste, so to speak, as we like to say down south. You be able to have, but reach out to Rahshib. I'm telling you, for those who own companies out there, those who have nonprofits, please take up this gentleman. I mean, he is fantastic. When you get there, no doubt, I know that your team will benefit. He's definitely going to add value, because that's just what he does. And also, for those who are wondering, is this just made up? No, this is Rahshib. Like, what you see is what you get. I mean, it's even better with the content and stuff that he's going to give to you. So don't believe. I've been able to meet the man in person. This is who he is. He got a heart of gold. He's definitely going to go out there and give his all to you, because he actually cares and he wants to see people successful. He understands the mindset of abundance, and he really doesn't mind helping people. So, make sure that you invest as well, because you want to invest in your company or invest in your growth. So, do respect, because he is an expert. He has put the time in. He travels across the globe. So this is what he does. So if you want to, cut that learning curve in half, get with Rahshib and make sure that you can benefit from his services. And I'm going to actually be reaching out to him as well on some stuff for a mastermind, some things that we have going on, and also some possible events that I'm going to get with him probably offline on, about some things on the hush hush that we're looking forward to do in the Bahamas in 2020 on some things. But anyway, connect with Rahshib. I'm guaranteed he'll change your life. Thanks again, Rahshib, for coming on to the Author Spotlight.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night.
Anytime, anytime. For those who listen, remember that this is the year for your new book. And if you won't change, be the change.